Some people are nothing without their addictions. And I want to speak a little bit about my personal experience with this. I have not smoked or drank in some years now. And it's probably one of the best decisions I've made. Drinking especially, because I will never go back to drinking. Some things I realized is that a lot of times when you become so dependent on something like drinking and smoking too, for a lot of people, your personality starts to get warped and merged with the person that you are when you're intoxicated, to the point where a lot of times you don't feel like yourself or you don't feel as good unless you're doing those things. Now, again, I'm talking from personal experience. There was a time back in 2020 where, let me go back even further. Drinking for me has never been something that I enjoyed. So the first thing is how do you start drinking, right? For a lot of people, you start drinking with friends, family, whatever it is. And for me, and a lot of people start in their teenage years. For me, I actually held off drinking until I got to college. I didn't have my first drunk experience until a friend's birthday party where I think they turned 21. I wasn't even 21 yet. And I remember being just wasted, but having a good time, okay? And I remember since then, that's what drinking was. It was, well, you're going to suffer after, that's what drinking became in my head, right? You're going to have a really good time drinking. Everyone's going to party, but then you're going to suffer after. And that was just a trade-off I was willing to make because I was having fun with friends. But at a certain point, and this is very true in college. It comes to a time where people don't really hang out when they're not sober anymore in college. At least when I was in college, right? Drinking was always a part of, once drinking became introduced, it was a part of most things that we did. Not to say we didn't have fun while we were sober sometimes, but people got excited when they knew we were gonna drink, right? That's the thing you do in college. And so because it's college, it masks the sort of dependency and unhealthy nature of it. It's not good because you're doing it in college either, but that's how it feels. That for me, that's how it felt. It was, it's college. Now, fast forward to being an adult, I still had some drinking outings after college, but I didn't really start to realize that it was an issue. Drinking was an issue for me until the pandemic. I'm sure a lot of people had this experience, but I'm gonna share mine. In 2020, one thing that was really big in 2020 was streaming. I was big into streaming in 2020. I was on Twitch. I would stream every day. And I remember the first few times I drank on stream, and it was fun. Again, same thing, just very, very much like college. But then it started to become streaming and hanging out with people became something I didn't want to do unless I was intoxicated. And that that showed me something. It showed me that I always thought that I was more agreeable or more fun when I was drinking. And I'm sure some people still probably think that. Oh, you're not as fun when you're because I'm in real life, I'm a generally pretty serious person. I can shoot the shit with you for sure, but I don't want to waste a lot of time, especially now because I have a family. But when I drank, whatever. Do whatever, low inhibitions, right? And I felt like I needed that in order to be able to connect with other people. And what I realized about that was the reason I started to feel like I didn't feel like myself unless I was drinking was because it wasn't that I didn't think other people would like me or be able to get along with me unless I was drinking. The real problem was I didn't like me. I didn't like me. So I was making myself into what I thought other people would like because I didn't like who I was. That's what the issue was. The person I dealt with while I was sober was not someone I wanted to deal with. So it was easier to forget who that person was if I was drinking and having fun and doing stupid shit. That's just the reality of it. And I slowly started to come out of that when I had my daughter. My daughter changed everything. I had my daughter, and I remember like six, 7 months into her being, born. I remember drinking one night, and I remember sleeping a long time after that next day. And my wife was taking care of our kid, and I remember waking up, and she had a fuck day, right? Dealing with her and dealing with me, of course. And I remember saying to her, you know what? She bless her, she did not ask me to stop drinking. At any point did she ask me to. She said, I just need you to help with this and this more. And I don't see how you can do that if you're like hungover. Duh, obviously, right? And I remember saying to her, I remember like bawling about it. I remember saying to her, you know what? I think I just need to stop. I think I just need to stop drinking. I think the problem is not, the problem is not the amount. The problem is drinking itself. And I'm not saying for other people who watch this, I'm not saying to you, you should not drink. You should just borrow temptation. I'm not saying that that's what you need to do, but that's what works for me. I am not somebody, and I'm not somebody who drinks because I enjoy the process of drinking. When I drink, I was drinking to get drunk. Okay. And if you don't drink to get drunk, you like alcohol, great. Fuck. Good for you. But I have not met a bottle that I like the taste of yet. Not a single one. Now there are some like fruitier drinks and shit that I used to like the taste of, but even that shit, even if it tastes bad, I'm drinking faster to get drunk. If it tastes good, I'm sipping on it, but I'm still getting drunk because I like the taste. So like it got to a point where it just wasn't worth it for me because there's way more important things in my life. There's just so much more important things. And it taught me a lot about how I viewed myself. So many people use alcohol and weed as an escape. Okay? As an escape. And if you always have to escape to get to this point where you're comfortable, it's an indicator that you don't like where you are. But the thing about that is you're ignoring the reality. And what's funny, alcohol, weed, those things have a very real cost. I'm not talking about like emotion. I'm talking about monetarily. That's just not cheap. It's expensive. You know what's free? Dealing with reality. Now, yeah, it was really hard to just, actually for me, it was actually pretty easy to stop drinking for me. But giving up weed was kind of hard. But you know what made it worth it? Seeing all the money I saved from not drinking. Seeing how much easier it was to be a responsible adult. And again, this is just my experience. This is just me sharing why it wasn't good for me, right? I was using it the way an addict uses it. I was using it as a replacement for the parts of my life I didn't like. If that's not you, this I'm not talking to you, and that's okay. Okay, this is not for everybody. But what I realized is there's a large number of people who use these mind-numbing tools in order to forget about the parts of their life they're unhappy with instead of fixing them. And I did not want to set that kind of example for my daughter. I remember thinking, how can I be dependable? And this goes a little bit further. I'm just going to talk today, okay? So if you're not ready for a longer video, that's okay, but you're going to get a longer video today because I got stuff to say. I remember thinking, when I didn't like myself, one of the things I didn't like about me was that I didn't like the dynamic between my wife and I. And what I mean by that is I felt like I had a responsibility to lead the house, but I felt like my wife didn't respect me. And when I say didn't respect me, I don't mean she was doing anything wrong. Again, it was me projecting onto her about what I thought of me. I could see the person in the mirror who was getting wasted. I could see it. And I thought to myself, why would anyone respect that? And because I didn't think I was worthy of respect, I would find disrespect in everything that my wife did, whether there was disrespect or not. See, these are the kind of things that when you're using when you're abusing things like alcohol, and I'm just gonna say, yeah, abusing, because I was drinking all the time. When you're abusing things like alcohol, you start to come up with these stupid ass rationalizations for why the people around you are the issue and not you. One of the things that I've always had going for me though is that I don't typically lie to myself. Even if I lie to you about me, I tell myself the truth. Be very aware. I know what's wrong with me, whether I'd say it to you out loud or not. I know. I'm honest with me. There's one thing I do with very good job with is I'm honest with me. And I looked in the mirror, I had a really, really long couple talks with myself and said, you're asking your wife who just birthed your daughter, who was working her ass off while you're not working. I wasn't working at the time. I was full-time as a parent, and I was expecting her to do half the shit, right? You're asking your wife to respect you while she has to do 18 other fucking things and then have to deal with you hungover. Would you respect you if that was you? Would you respect that? And it was just a very obvious no. It was an obvious no. So two things happened when I stopped drinking. One, I just came clean to my wife about, you know what? I can't do this shit anymore. Like, I can't be drinking like that anymore. She was like, are you sure? Like, you don't want to just have like a beer every now and again? I was like, nah, I don't think I could. I don't want to buy alcohol anymore, right? So since then, I have not bought alcohol from my house at all since that conversation. Okay. Now I have like gone to a place and like had a half of a beer before. It's not like I've never tasted alcohol since then. I've tasted like specialty bourbons before, but I have never ordered my own drink. Like I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that anymore. We're not done with that. Okay. Done. And that allowed me first to fix me, realize that I wasn't healthy. I didn't like myself. And then ask some questions about why, okay? Now that we've established we are unhappy, how do we fix it? Well, we fix it by asking ourselves, without this addiction, like I said before, what are you? And I remember asking myself that and thinking, shit, not much. Like, I don't got much going for me other than the fact that I have this beautiful daughter in front of me. I got my wife here. She's still with me, thank goodness, right? But what am I contributing? Like, can the people in this house depend on me? And I just remember thinking, fuck no, man, you can't even depend on you. Like, you can't depend on you. And there was a morning there. I had to kill the person I used to be. And that was a sad moment. But it was for the better. Now, there are still remnants of me left from that time. I used to be a really huge video game person. I still love video games. I still game every now and again when I'm up late and I got the baby strapped to me. If I'm not making a video, every now and again I'm a game for a few hours just for me. Okay, there's still parts of me that are still there, but I killed off the parts that were hurting my family and hurting me. And then once I established that I was literally just becoming the guy who drank, right? I was becoming the addiction. When I stripped that away, I said, okay, now what is it that I want to be? Well, I'm not working right now. I don't want to be the guy who's living off my wife. Now, I'm not saying you can't be a stay-at-home husband. If that is what you want, don't listen to me. This is not about me. I'm telling you what works for me. I'm not saying that I have the formula for everybody else, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted my wife to not have the pressure of going to fucking corporate America. And I could see it in her face. As great as she was at her job, she was making great money. As great as she was not happy. She was not happy. Okay? She was not happy having to do both. She is happier today being mom. Now, that's not to say that she won't ever go back. She might. But the fact of the matter was, at that point, she was doing it all. She was the breadwinner. She did everything. So she didn't have a choice. So the first thing I said to myself was, you need to be bringing some income in. You need to get a job. And I did. I got a job doing what I was doing before I quit my old job. And I'm doing it still now. I'm a data analyst. I'm very good at it. And I also said to myself, you need to have some plans for how you're going to support this family long term. If the goal is you want your wife to quit, you getting just a job, right? That just puts you in the same position you were in before, right? So what are we going to start? And I went through a lot of different phases on what I was going to start. I said I was going to be at one point I was going to be a software engineer. At one point I was going to work two jobs to just get as much money as I could to save for rentals. And now we officially implemented the plan of moving here, start business on a flip, and we're about to close on a flip probably next week or the following week. Okay. So I had to decide. Short-term fix, get yourself employed. Long-term fix, plan for the future so we can make money so that we can all be taken care of. So we can expand our family if we want to. So that my wife can quit. Get our house paid off. That was the next step. Okay, all the extra money we got coming in. Honey, I'm going to get my job, all my job. You're already paying the bills. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a job and all my money is going to go to the mortgage. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to put a little bit into our 401ks and then I'm going to save some money up so that once we get this mortgage paid off, we can have some money to do these flips. That's what we're going to do next. And we did it. And now I'm here living a life that I didn't think, if you had asked me in the middle of 2020, if you had asked me if this was possible, I would have told you no, for me. But again, it required me to look at myself very, very critically and be honest. What I realized was I was becoming the addiction. It wasn't just that it was harming me. It was swallowing me. It was quite literally engulfing who I was. And that's not to say that, I don't have opinions outside of drinking or I don't have thoughts. I did, but everything that came out of my mouth was colored by the fact that I was intoxicated. Like, you cannot tell me that the version of you that is a logical thinking human being is going to be able to articulate everything that you think as well when you're drunk or high versus when you are sober and clear mind. It's not going to happen. Then the next thing is where I'm at right now. Gym. This is the next step. Getting my body right now that I got my mind right. Making sure that this body that I'm about to put through the ringer, that I'm about to ask to remodel homes while doing a full-time job, while being a dad, is going to be able to withstand what I'm asking of it. And this also would not be possible if I drank every day. See, I've always wanted to be in shape, but it's always come second to the fun. Well, I'll start tomorrow. I want to have a drink tonight. I'll start next week. I want to have a drink tonight. You can't make good gym progress if you drink every single week. It's very, very difficult. I'm sure somebody out there is doing it, but it is very, very hard to put your feet in both lives. Which is why for me, it's cleaner to just make the decision and say, you know what? As much fun as I had, drinking, shooting the shit, being stupid as fuck, and as hard as this is, as hard as it is for me to be responsible every day, for me to get almost no sleep every day, for me to be dependable, for my wife to be able to say, I know I can lean on him every single day, it's worth it. It's worth it. Because when I go to sleep, I know that nobody in my house can question whether or not, if they need me, they can count on the fact that I'm there. They don't ever have to think to themselves, oh, John's hungover. Oh, John's high. We can't ask him to do that. No, ask me. And I told my wife several times, you know what? Don't worry. I don't need you to worry about me. I don't need you to worry about me and my well-being. I can do that. What I need you to do is worry about these kids. Our children need you far more. Worry about taking care of you and the children. And if you need anything from me to make that happen, I don't care what time of day it is. I don't care how much I have on my plate. You come to me. You come to me. And see, I couldn't do that in 2020. I couldn't do that. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't do that, because even if I said it, it wouldn't have meant the same, because I didn't have the data to back it up. I do now. And that is why I don't smoke. I don't drink. If you are somebody who smokes and drinks, hey, more power to you. But if you feel anything like I felt in 2020, you're like, and you're starting to recognize this shit is consuming me. Hopefully my story can be a tale for you. And I hope you find your way out, because realize there is more to life than fun. And there is great pride in knowing that you can handle the responsibility on your shoulders. There is. I know that's not what the world will teach you today, but from my experience, there's great pride in it. All right? I'm going to get to this gym. I've talked a long time. It's one of the longest videos I've ever had on this channel. But hey, it needs to be said. So that's my story. I will talk to y'all later.